Did you know that Jose Silva won the lottery? This is something that not a lot of people know. And I thought I had read the story in his famous book, The Silva Mind Control Method. Now, this book is about the program that he created to help you learn how to control your own mind. Yeah, not other people's. And I came to this because Helene Hadsel, who I'm maintaining her legacy, was Jose Silva's assistant. So actually, I've been taking the Silva method and I'm almost finished my instructor training and I should have my certificate soon. So I'm very familiar with this. And I could have swore I read the story in this book, but then when I wanted to do this video, I couldn't find it. But because I mean maintaining Helene Hadsel's legacy, I also had access to the remains of her business files in some of her library, and I found this book in that library. This was autographed to Helene and Pat from Jose. I have to show you. So first, each book has one that's printed, a little signature by Jose himself, but this one's customized. Now, I would have read it to everybody, but his handwriting, I can't read it. Maybe I'll have to scan it and put it on my blog and people can see if they can decipher Jose's handwriting. I don't happen to have volume 2. This just says volume 1. And this is about his whole life. There's pictures of the family, like Jose at 7, being an entrepreneur. I mean, it's a great book. But it's chapter 18 that I want to read you because it's life-changing. Now, you have to remember the story, this part of the story happened 76 years ago, depending on what month it happened. So it's quite a long time ago. And the reason that I got thinking about Jose winning the lottery, because we were just in Mexico on vacation and I saw a lottery kiosk and I thought, oh my God, wouldn't it be amazing if I could buy the same lottery tickets that he did? But clearly, 75 years, they're not running the same games that they did at the time. And also, he was playing the lottery in Mexico because Texas, remember, Laredo, Texas is a border town. Laredo, Texas actually didn't have a state lottery until 1992. And that's why Helene also never won the lottery, because she had won everything in the 60s. And the lottery came 30 years later. Well, why would she need to play the lottery? She already won everything she already wanted. Like, people want to win the lottery so they can do all these things they want. But if you already do all the things you want, why do you need the lottery? Anyway, this chapter is titled Some of My Guides and Teachers During Research. So this is going to set up how he came to win the lottery and then the lottery win. At this time, I want to mention an experience that I went through that I feel was responsible for the continuation of the mind control program. Now, this is key, because if this incident didn't happen, I wouldn't be where I am today. Like, look at the domino. Because he won the lottery and was able to continue mind control, creating the program and meeting Helene, and then I'm maintaining her legacy. Like, there is a domino and a ripple effect through time and space here. It just blows my mind, because we don't know what actions we take today, where they ripple out. So he had no idea that him doing these actions, they greatly affected his life, but he's also affected mine and millions of others. Like, it's really mind-blowing when you think about it. So keep that in mind every time you feel small. You have no idea how big your pebble is. That's what I say. Because if you take that pebble and throw it in water, you don't know how far those ripples are going to go. Literally. At this time, I want to mention, oh yeah, I just read that line. In fact, I will say that if this experience had not taken place, mind control would not exist today. Again, I did want to read that one because it's so important. This happened while I was still studying psychology. I had studied and practiced hypnosis and was investigating parapsychology, but had not yet trained the first subject to function as a clairvoyant. During this time, I went through a period of disillusionment, right? Remember, he's a human being on a journey, just like all of us, and we have our ups and downs. I was the one to close our electronics business establishment at 9 each night. We used to get calls from Nuevo Laredo, Mexico, across the border, and we would take care of between 5 and 9 each evening before closing at 9. Usually after closing the business at 9, I would go home, have dinner, and help Paula put the children to bed. By that time, it would be about 11 at night, and I would take out the psychology books and study for 2, 3, sometimes 4 hours. One night, I suddenly realized that what I was reading did not make sense anymore, and I said, "What am I doing to myself studying psychology? I'm not a psychologist, nor do I plan to become one. I had a heavy day of work yesterday. I'm going to have another heavy day of work tomorrow, and here I am wasting good hours of sleep studying psychology." I closed the book and threw it on the floor. It slid under the couch, and I said to myself, "That's the last time I will have anything to do with reading books on psychology." At that time, my wife came to see if the book had fallen from my hands and hit the floor, because every time she heard the book hit the floor prior to that time, it meant I had fallen asleep, and the book had slipped from my hands, hitting the floor with a noise that served as a cue for Paula to come and get me to go to sleep. But this time it was different. I did it on purpose. I went to sleep right after that, but 2 hours later, a bright light inside my head woke me up. It was a light like the midday sun when you look up into space on a cloudless, sunny day. Hanging in space were 2 sets of numbers, one set over the other. The first set was 343. The second set under the first set was 373. Right after that, an impression of Christ and the one solidarity life given to me at the Army Reception Center came to me. Why Christ, I wondered. Why me? What does this have to do with the numbers? I opened my eyes and it was dark. I glanced at the clock on the bedstand and it was 4:30 in the morning. I said to myself, maybe it was a telepathic message. I had become aware of parapsychology by this time and had read that such things could happen. I figured maybe this was the way it was done. Fascinated, I tried some experiments with myself in the light. I closed my eyes, trying to keep the bright light from disappearing. Since it was fading gradually, I tried breathing slowly, but that did not help. I tried changing positions, but that did not help. I tried to slow down my heart, but whatever I did was not enough. The bright light continued to fade until it faded out completely. I stayed awake from there on, trying to analyze what had happened. I thought of Paula and how she used to tell me, they say that people who read too much go crazy. The one that has dozens of books in her library. I was not about to tell her about the light in my head because I knew her answer would be, "I told you so." In fact, I might have agreed with her and started thinking, maybe this is how people start to go crazy, by seeing lights in their heads. But one thing I kept thinking was that for whatever reason this happened, it must be all right, because the impression of Christ and the one solidarity life that came to me with the experience. The first explanation I thought of was that maybe I was supposed to call someone who has that phone number. I went through the telephone book from cover to cover, but did not find any listing for the numbers I had seen. Remember, this was in the late 40s, so phone numbers were a lot different back then. And they had phone books. My next idea was that maybe I should go to someone's home who has these numbers in their address, and if I find it, maybe they have a message for me. But when I studied a city map, I found the home addresses in Laredo did not use those numbers. It was about 4 p.m. when I came up with another idea. I'd look at automobile and truck license plate numbers. I did this for the rest of the day, ready to ask for my message from the driver of any vehicle that had those numbers, but I did not find a car or truck license to match my mysterious numbers. It was 15 minutes before 9 when I started to close my place of business. My wife came in from our house next door and said to me, "If you go across the river to Nuevo Laredo, Mexico for a service call, please get me a bottle of alcohol." We use Mexican alcohol for medicinal purposes because it is pure and costs less than alcohol in Laredo. We have to have them put in a cube of camphor in it when they sell it to us, so we do not have to pay the liquor tax on it. When the tax people at the border smell the camphor and the alcohol, they do not charge us any liquor tax. I told Paula, "Honey, I don't have any service calls from across the border, but I will go and get you a bottle anyway." At that very moment, an old friend of mine came in to invite me to go for some coffee. I said, "Help me close my place and we'll go right now." I then asked him how much time he had, and he answered, "All the time in the world." "Why?" I told him I wanted to go across to Mexico to get my wife a bottle of alcohol, and he said, "Fine, I will go with you." While on the way, I figured I could tell my friend about my experience, since he had been studying psychology with me for 1 year. I felt sure he was not going to think I was crazy. I had not told anyone all day, but I needed to tell someone, so I told him. While crossing the bridge into Mexico, my friend suggested, now that we are coming into Mexico and Mexico operates a national lottery, maybe there is such a number. So you see how it was his friend that came up with the idea. I had not thought of that, I said. What have we got to lose? The lottery agency was just 1 block and a half further up the same street where we were going to get the alcohol. We stopped right in front of the lottery agency and it was closed. They closed at 9 o'clock and we had just missed it. Finding it closed means, for me, to forget it. We're not supposed to be here, I told my friend. So remember, he's going with the flow and assuming what they call pronoia. It's like the opposite of paranoid, that everything that happens for his greater good. So finding the lottery closed means he's just not supposed to be there. When we got to the liquor store and while I was getting Paula's alcohol and getting the clerk to put the camphor in the bottle, my friend went to the back room where he found some lottery tickets that were hanging on a string. What numbers are you looking for? My friend called from the adjoining room. I said 343 and 373. He called back, 343 is here. I said, you're kidding. Are you not? My friend then answered, come and see. Sure enough, there were 5 segments of an active series numbered 343. A whole or complete series contained 20 segments or units. Someone had already purchased the other 15 segments or units. My friend asked, what do you intend to do now? Buy these, of course. So I bought them. I had never even thought of buying lottery tickets, but now I was buying 5 segments and would find out in 2 days if the number 343 would win anything. At the time, I did not know that you could call the lottery agency by phone and find out if the ticket had won anything. I thought I had to go in person, which is what I did. I found out that the ticket 373 had been sold in Mexico City. It could not have been found anywhere else because the 373 was assigned to be sold in Mexico City only. Very similar to lottery tickets now where they're coded. You know, they have that special barcode. So the lottery agency of the state or province will know which kiosk was bought at, what time it was bought at, all the details. If I had purchased the 733, it would have cleared after paying the Mexican income tax about $1,000. On the other hand, the 343 was assigned to be sold in the liquor store in Nuevo Laredo, and nobody else in the whole Republic of Mexico could have had it. Look at the line of coincidences. Remember, there are no coincidences. I believe Carl Jung is the first one to say that. And then, of course, a lot of other teachers follow suit. The 343 had a prize also. After paying the Mexican income taxes and exchanging the Mexican money into United States dollars, I cleared little over $10,000 with just my 5 segments out of the 20 on the ticket. So basically $2,000 a ticket. I'd come home dazed with $10,000 in my pockets. Now you're going to remember, and in 1949, that was a lot of money. Think about that amount of money 75 years ago. I was trying to figure out who had put that number in my head and why. I went back over my experience step by step and found many coincidences. For example, my wife wanted a bottle of alcohol from Mexico and came over and asked me at that particular time. She had said, whenever you go to make a service call across the border, get me a bottle of alcohol. I could have said, I'll get you a bottle the next time I make a service call. Or I could have said, send somebody else. I don't have time for those petty things. Instead, I said, I will go tonight and get you a bottle, honey. Paula did not know about my experience, much less know that she was sending me to the one place in the entire Republic of Mexico where the ticket was sold. And this is how manifestations works, because we don't know what his thought process was prior to this. Was he thinking that he needed a means to focus on this? And we also have soul contracts. Was him focusing on the Silva method, a clause in his soul contract that needed to come online? Follow Robert Ohado and Carolyn Mace to learn more about soul contracts. And I will be doing another video on that. So what timing? If my friend had come only 10 minutes later, I would have already been gone by myself. If the clerk had not put had to put the camphor in the bottle, we would have been out of the store before my friend had a chance to look around in the adjacent room with the lottery tickets. If my friend had not gone with me, I would have not gotten the idea to buy a lottery ticket, nor would I have walked into the other room and had seen the tickets. So I want you to start looking at the different things in your life and what is working for you, because even when you think a door has closed, it might be helping to guide you and direct you in a certain direction so that you can win the lottery. And maybe not the literal lottery, but maybe the metaphysical lottery. So I want you to sit with that and think about it. I want you to think about being a winner in life, because you really are. Just think about all the things that are going right and focus on those. And that's what we need to do. And if you ever have a dream about numbers, think about playing the lottery.